Welcome to the December 7th, 2020 Advanced Report for McGowan Group clients and NetWorthRadio.com listeners. I'm Spencer McGowan, your financial weatherman, President, McGowan Group Asset Management. Thank you for joining us. It's an educational tour, a mind-expanding experience for about 10 minutes each week. And of course, if we hit a market crisis like March, this is year-to-date Dow, then we're going to be right here telling you what we're doing and why. And today, we're going to cover, yes, the recovery of the Dow 30,000, the celebration. This is monetary Adderall, I would call it, and stimulus Xanax for the markets. And you can see, boom, there you go. This is really the COVID-19 vaccine, which is rolling out. Kudos to the UK this week. They approved before the US and are starting to distribute the Pfizer. And of course, the FDA is catching up. But the FDA's had the door kicked in on their over-regulation, emergency use, right to try, all those things, and the condensed bureaucracy are going to help the traditional biomedical technology companies, and we'll cover that too. So we see this. This is a tech-driven recovery primarily. Technology has become overpriced, it doesn't pay a yield, and at 30 to 50 times earnings, there are better bargains because you've had a huge shift in the markets, especially for investors like myself that like cash flow to reinvest or pay any extra expenses. Now, this is how many people are employed. At the peak, it was 159 million, went down to 133 million. Now, we're sitting at about 8 million people still need a job to get back to record profits. That's the real update. And it's more of a Nike swoosh, only 250,000 jobs, 245,000 added last month. So you kind of swoosh up here. What's going to be the key factor? Well, unfortunately, deregulation and lower taxes lead to more jobs. So we got to see what the policies will be next year. A $4 trillion infrastructure package proposed essentially by Goldman Sachs in their endorsement of Biden about 3 weeks before the election. But infrastructure will help. And of course, what happens after you've been taking Adderall, monetary Adderall by the Federal Reserve, and Xanax? Well, eventually you get a rehab hangover. That's coming in 2022, and we'll be here to prepare for that eventual hangover from all the artificial stimulation and the stimulus Xanax, if you will. Here we go. Money flows so far this year, 26 billion out of the S&P 500 major ETF. 26 billion. Where did it go? Well, we look at the money flows, it went into tech. So the market lost money. People did not invest, but they just pushed the price of all the technology companies up to unsustainable 1999 levels, in our opinion. There are still bargains out there, medical technology and other innovation companies, even some of them with a yield. Now we look at GDP going forward, okay? This is quarter by quarter, and you can see the huge 31% decline GDP annualized, 33% increase, 4% projected for this quarter, and then about 3% for next year. So that's really the update on the GDP. We go back to kind of a normal growth. What are the key elements in growing at 1% like we did 08 through 16 versus near 3% 16 on? Deregulation and lower taxes, good for GDP growth at 3%, 1% growth if we get higher taxes and more regulation. So that's the only political commentary I'll make for today. This is annual, which is about the same that I just covered. Now, by the way, the damage for this year is about a minus 4% GDP. That means it technically was the fastest recovery in history and one of the shortest recessions, especially with vaccines coming. This time next year, COVID is not likely to be a factor, COVID-19 anyway, COVID flu will be around forever, and so will colds. But the containment, and the UK saying we're going to do passport vaccine stamps so people can travel or come into the country. That restores air travel by this time next year, and it restores demand, by the way, for oil and gas, which we're about to get to. This is high yield. The high yield index turned into positive territory with yield this week. Global high yield, actually a healthy positive total return. We've been talking about global high yield allocations here in the prior example. What happened here? That is a 40% rally in the energy infrastructure pipelines. It's a recovery, right? But this index arguably is a potential 75% just to get back to 2019 levels. If you go further back, it's a potential triple plus yield as demand for oil and gas is restored. And a Biden administration would put restrictions on new oil and gas supply. Last time it happened under Obama in a recovery, oil went to 110, and of course energy came back into favor, as you see it doing here. We're not the only ones that look at the charts. This is healthcare. Obviously, a nice rally in the healthcare sector, the biomedical dividend companies being the most interesting to us. I'm Spencer McGowan, your financial weatherman. Join us each week for the mind-expanding experience to take your financial knowledge to the next level, and especially share it with your future trustees, like your kids or the non-investing spouse, because we're here to advance the education, the decision-making, and of course, when you and I are 110 and we have to turn it over to a trustee because we start to forget, then we'll have somebody that has watched YouTube McGowan Group. Thank you for joining me this week. Thank you for tuning in to our YouTube channel. I'm Spencer McGowan, President McGowan Group, your financial weatherman. We sponsor each week NetWorthRadio.com broadcast that has the charts and graphs, many of which you saw today. We also sponsor this YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for fast breaking news, an alert when we post something in a market condition that may have changed. Our goal is to help you as an investor make the right decisions at the right time. And that's part of what this YouTube channel is about, as well as NetWorthRadio.com. I am well served with a team of 10 people, including myself. And that team that cares is actually made up of people who devoted to your net profits and your success, as well as excellence in service. If you want an educational experience to follow this up, get to NetWorthRadio.com, themcgowangroup.com. Right here, we disclose our net client experience all the way back to 2001. What that includes, the bear market cycles of 02, 08, 2018, and the recoveries through the most recent quarter. That is true education of investors and exactly how our clients have done, disclosed right here. Further disclosures, value at risk of loss. Yes, investments are going to fluctuate. That's part of the reason for this broadcast. And that can actually work to your advantage. We'll build that into your plan. So I urge you to go to NetWorthRadio.com, fill out the preliminary client questionnaire, a free 1-hour brainstorming session by phone or at the Crescent in Dallas, and we will map out a multi-year plan for you and your family that's appropriate. Just because we talk about a security on this broadcast or any securities doesn't make it a recommendation for your portfolio until you have that written plan. Thank you for tuning in today, and we'll be back next week as your financial weatherman.